We are delighted to announce the launch of Extraordinary Women in Tech Conference, taking place at the Intercontinental Hotel in San Francisco. Join this truly global peer-to-peer conference. Add your name to the list of best and brightest female minds, joining together to advance the movement of women leadership in technology. Be featured in our dedicated podcast channel. Come celebrate the achievements of you, an extraordinary woman in tech.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Extraordinary Women in Tech. Today we're going to be focused on emerging technologies, and we have some extraordinary women, truly extraordinary women here to explore the theme together. We're going to be focusing on how emerging technologies are shaping the tech landscape, the unique challenges and possibilities present within the worlds they create, and how to distinguish real impact from gimmick. We'll also get into some ethical questions around impact and share what we're excited about for future applications of emerging technology. So today I'd like to start with introductions, and I'll ask each panelist to introduce herself. Brittany, can I begin with you?
Hi, yes, great to be with you and with everyone here today. My name is Brittany Schramm. I'm the Senior Director of our Global Alliances program and team. So I joined Matterport about 10 months ago to build alliances from the ground up, and that our team spans across EMEA, APAC, and AMER. And how did I get here? So my background has been in partnerships and strategy. So I was really excited for the opportunity to work with Matterport and to build a strategy and a program from the ground up, but also for the incredible product and innovative technology that we are also building with new partners every day.
Wonderful. Thank you for being with us. Daria.
Yeah, hi. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Daria. I'm a founder and CEO of WeAR Studio. We do AR and VR development. How I get there, I fell in love with this technology 6 years ago, and that is how I started my company. And that was that very moment. And right now we use AR and VR technologies to solve specific challenges and pain points on the business side. We help businesses approach these technologies and integrate with their business in a proper way. Let's say so.
Beautiful. Thank you, Daria. And last but not least, Laura.
Hi. So I'm Laura Ulmer. I'm Senior Director of Product on the Mythical platform. And the Mythical platform is about bringing next generation economy to games. And I joined Mythical about 4 months ago from an entity analytics company focused on aggregation of data shadow for intelligence purposes. So that's, in every sense that you need to understand a person and their relationships, those are the use cases that they covered. And I'm thrilled to be joining Mythical and their mission to really revolutionize the game industry and game economy.
Amazing. Thank you for being with us, Laura. Ladies, let's start with an icebreaker question. Something we've been thinking about and having a lot of fun with here at Avenue Code recently in our innovation lab is exploring the concept of the magic wand. So if you could wave a magic wand and create one new technology in an instant, what would it be? And I'll start and give an example. After the last 2 years with very limited travel, I'm dreaming about teleportation more than ever. I really miss seeing friends around the world. And if I could snap my fingers and be there in an instant, that would be my, my genie in a bottle wish to create a new technology. How about for each of you? Let's go in the same order of intros. So Brittany, what would you create with your magic wand?
I definitely, travel is very important to me as well. So I would piggyback on that. But just to put something else that I am really passionate about is the environment. And so for the ocean, I love the ocean. I love sports in the ocean. So if there was technology that I could create that we could enjoy when we're out in the ocean or, diving with the sea turtles, right? If there was a technology that could remove the trash from the ocean or decrease the impact that we've had on our oceans and have a more sustainable environment, I would create that.
Amazing. I knew you were a nature lover. I didn't know the ocean had such a special place for you. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Daria? What would you create?
I'm sorry, it's just so fun and stupid, but this idea gives me so amazed. I have a dog, and it's really frustrating to clean all the time after this dog. So I would prefer to have a technology that will automatically clean everything after the dog, and that's it.
But it's very easily brandable. It's the poo bot.
The poo bot. There you go. You know, talking about positive impact, I think you got it. We've already nailed it. How about you?
Yeah, you can imagine like thousands of happy people.
Dogs.
Let's talk to Boston Dynamics. Let's see if we can get that added on to their dog bot, where all it does is like poop into its heart.
There you go. What would you create, Laura?
You know, I'm really with Brittany on this one. The presence of plastics in all ecosystems, from microplastics all the way out to the larger plastics that are suffocating out sea life and destroying our food chain and hurting our bodies. If I could wave a magic wand, it would be a technology that's able to suck even the smallest amount of plastic out of the environment and convert it into materials for building, or something inert that's not destructive, that's not going to break down in harmful ways. I get angry every time I put a piece of plastic into the trash can. It just makes me mad. Like, I just feel anger. So I'm with Brittany. Like, magic wand things for the environment, specifically around plastic, would be a big deal.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I think already you're starting to see that this is a group of women that really cares about creating impact, about the implications of decisions now into the future. So I think we're going to have a very inspiring conversation together. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. So I would like to start by asking, one thing that's really unique about working with emerging technologies is that they're always evolving. And the cycle of consumer feedback to actual change is much shorter than with majority of established softwares and products. So I'm curious, what are some examples of this that you've seen? And Brittany, let me start with you.
Yeah, so a couple of examples that I've seen, I really see that it starts with the customer. And I think you see that across, getting feedback and receiving that from the customer. That is in any great company or organization, prioritizing listening to the customer and the needs of the customer for today, but also building for the future for tomorrow. And what I think is really great about Matterport and emerging technology is that we have the opportunity to build and innovate with the customer feedback and directly hearing from the customer. And so we see this in a couple of ways now, right? We're seeing this with what we've worked with Avenue Code on. So building immersive virtual experiences digitally that never existed based off of physical spaces. And that's really innovating the retail industry. And then we see in manufacturing that customers are asking us, how do we build solutions that we can integrate our sensors and our IoT data all together with a Matterport digital twin? We see across the board training, integrating Matterport into training and LMS systems. So really exploring new innovative ideas and solutions that we can build with partners, that partners like Avenue Code can help us create for the customer, with the customer in mind. And I think that's a little different from, a product or a company that's very robust, where it's more listening to the customer on, okay, how do we advance this technology? How do we create new features to this technology? Whereas here it is, we're building and innovating sometimes with the customer directly as well, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to collaborate with you all at Matterport on that initiative. Thank you. Daria, what about you? What are some examples that you've seen of that kind of feedback to evolution loop?
I would share from our experience, because we work a lot with the different clients from different niches and industries, and the development process and integration process of AR and VR solutions. They're so rapid. Like, we can start with one technical task, and then in the process it will transform in something totally different, because on the way we can have several updates from the software, from the hardware, from the world of some additional technologies and tools, and it's a rapid infrastructure. And we should always collect the feedback, not only from the customers, but from the initial focus groups and from the technology providers. It's all about the feedback in the process. So it's not the regular development, it's not the regular integration. You should always do your research. You should always check all the updates and everything on the market. Like I always say, it's not the end while you haven't published it and it's there on the market. Because today we have the solution, but tomorrow something can change on the side of the technology, and we have to integrate it as well. So yeah, I guess
it's kind of that it's like that design thinking principle of starting with the user and iterating and getting their feedback like times 1,000, because everything is up for grabs and everything is negotiable. It's really interesting.
And everything is changing all the time. And in our team, we always work with tons of feedback, because during the process of the development, people are not very aware of AR and VR technologies and what do they really want to have as a final result, you know? And then in the process, when they can see it, when they can feel it, they give you the real feedback they have in their hearts and their minds. And then we're talking, you know? That's when the truth is going on, and when we find the real feedback. So yeah, with emerging technologies, I guess that's the real thing, when you have to collect this feedback all the way at all these stages.
Yeah, there's something very magical about working at the intersection of ideas and imagination and then incarnating those into tangible realities. Thank you, Daria. And I am curious, all three of you have previously worked in more traditional settings, and I'd love to hear, what are the primary differences that you can see with how you go about your day-to-day work now that you are working on the forefront of emerging technologies? And Laura, can I go to you for this one?
Yeah, sure. It comes down to a lot of what Brittany and Daria already said, which is really about speed and customer discovery and the techniques that you applied all along the journey of understanding what delivers value. And so you, especially in emergent technology, while you're building a business, you need to not allow perfect to be the enemy of the good, and develop a high level of discernment about what's hard to change versus what's easy to change, and how those, like the difficult things to change in systems or in culture or in processes, taking that extra bit of time, but otherwise move. And that's really what's different, is that when you're in an established company with established revenue streams, you can lose some discipline and not pay for it right away. In startup, in emerging technology, you have to be on it. And so at Mythical, for us, we're focused on player first, game first. If games aren't fun, people don't engage. If we're not taking really great care of our customers and really aware of what they need, then those feedback loops are super necessary, but we have to move and choose. We have to stay attuned to our environment. And that level of focus, I think, is the main difference between what you would experience in like a very large established company, maybe outside the Google Meta world, but in like what we would call standard corporate America. So that to me is the day-to-day difference, is the criticality of speed of decision-making, action, and wisdom of discernment driven by customer awareness and market awareness.
Makes sense. Brittany, would you like to add to that?
Sure. I mean, I really resonate with, especially talking about the value and speed to market and time. I resonate with all of that. And I think, when I think about what you're asking here, what really comes to mind as well is not just, working in emerging technology, but the stage that the company is in, right? So Matterport is at such an exciting time where there's a wealth of opportunity of us to build and to revolutionize the built world and revolutionize how our platform is integrated into some of the largest technology partners today. And that opportunity and the time that we're at is very pivotal and very important for us. And so what I would say is that there's an abundance of opportunity, but it comes down to prioritization. So that I always check in with myself, and I always ask that of my team. Let's talk about prioritization. We can go after everything and we're going to be a jack of all trades, master of none. What is the prioritization, and what is the impact that this is going to make? And how do we prioritize and build with intention and build to scale? And so how are we prioritizing with that in mind? So I think that's something that's really important when we're thinking of emerging technologies and applies, but I also think that it's really crucial right now at the stage that we're at, being a public company now, and the incredible opportunity to grow and scale globally.
So important. I feel like we could honestly have an entire conversation just around establishing criteria for what to go after, because in many ways, emerging technologies, it's like a kid in a candy shop. You don't know where to look, you don't know where to start. There's so many exciting possibilities, and it's very easy to spin your wheels and get nowhere. So that prioritization has to be first and foremost, and you have to have a very good criteria for it. And I want to talk a little bit more deeply about that. So I think that's a great segue into our next question, which is that it is so easy to get swept up in, I would say the hype, but it's not even really the hype. They're very real and very exciting possibilities, but it's easy to get swept up and to lose sight of business objectives. And so I'm curious from each of you, how can companies or how can anyone hone their instincts for differentiating between what is going to bring real business value and what is mostly gimmick? Daria, you've worked a lot in this space, so let me go to you first.
That's a good question, and I'm always asking myself when some big hype is on the market. Right now, it's a metaverse. Last year, it was something different. In our industry, it's always a new hype every 6 months or something around that. And for us, what works is to conduct strategic sessions and just to stick with our values and with our goals, what we have in mind, what we are passionate for. Because for sure, we can do a lot of hype things, but I'm passionate about solving business challenges with AR and VR. And for me, it's the main focus. And anything can happen with the hypes and in the industry and in technologies and some other like neighborhood industries, close to our niche. But still, for us, it's just to understand where is your main goal, what are you passionate for, conduct strategic sessions just to keep your focus on main things. And here is another side. For sure, you can have these strategic goals, but sometimes it's just not being that stick with the strategic goals. Sometimes it's about being flexible and just dare yourself to say the truth. Okay, my strategic goals, they're good, but we have to reshape them, or being flexible in this and there. So yeah, from if in a nutshell, it's just to be sure what you're passionate about, have your goals, track the data, and be flexible, I guess. That's it.
I like that. I think something you said there is it's very unique, rather than starting from the point of view of what are my strategic goals and then choosing what aligns with them, actually holding them loosely enough and bringing the flexibility and adaptability to actually question your goals in light of emerging technology or data that's coming up, right? Is maybe even the goals themselves bear reevaluation once in a while.
Exactly. Yeah, and in the process, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy this process of having my business, of doing these things around AR, VR with my team. I want to enjoy this process. I don't want to die behind all these strategic goals and everything. It's great to have them. You have to have them. It's a business side. You have to be like stick to this business things. But in the process, it's just our human nature, and I want to enjoy it. Why not? So I will be flexible if I want. So I don't have like a big corporate company. I'm working with emerging technologies, and that's the precious part about it. I can do whatever I want.
I love that. Laura, what would you say to the question of distinguishing between real value versus gimmick?
Well, I think that's it. It comes back, we're going to touch back on that customer discovery point again, and then it's really honing in on clarity, right? And so from Mythical's perspective, we understand that most players don't actually own what they buy in game, and a lot of players don't know that. And all these shadow or gray markets have emerged for people to trade stuff. And that's not a safe environment, actually, because somebody going out on eBay and violating the terms of service of the game product that they're using, selling a character or some in-game valuable, there's no guarantee that the person selling it is legit, that they're going to be protected, any of that stuff. And from Mythical's perspective is we understand that players deserve a safe place to recognize the value that they put into the game products. That's not going away. That's not hype. We've got a very long haul perspective to create benefits for mass market players through blockchain in an accessible way that enhances their game experiences. And so for us, you know, what goes on with who sold what NFT for what price doesn't matter, because that's not what we're in it for. We're in it for changing the quality of life for players playing games and making really fun games, supporting really fun games in an entirely different way that empowers the freedom of the player.
Amazing.
And so
I know you have more to come on that. Great, great. And you know, I think what we're starting to get at here is that right alongside the fascination that often comes when we talk about emerging technologies, there often are real fears of the implications. Sometimes there's even distaste for iterations of what's emerging, and you know, those things really coexist. And I'm curious, what drew you to work where you do, and what keeps you excited about it day to day? Brittany, can you start?
Absolutely. So there's so many things that drew me to Matterport. And when I just think of, you know, the products that we're offering, the products we're offering, the services we're offering, Matterport makes it incredibly easy to revolutionize the built world by digitizing it. We make it very easy to do so. We make it easy to capture spaces and turn them into digital assets, your physical asset into a digital asset, which is incredibly exciting. And we also have a really great platform. Our SDK and our APIs make it really easy to build on, build with, and integrate into the tools or the systems and the platforms that companies are using today and that they plan to use in the future. And so what this enables is it enables us to really work horizontally across verticals and industries. And so that is really exciting. And that is what drew me to Matterport and continues to inspire me every day. We learn new use cases, like I said, across, I mean, you can name every industry, every vertical, and we have use cases. So it's very exciting.
It is. And I think that like the element of democratization that you just spoke to is what really is so cool about it. And I think for everyone listening, if you haven't yet looked up Matterport or just download the app on your phone, go play with it, because it is so cool. Your mind just starts lighting up with the possibilities. It's phenomenal. So go check it out if you haven't yet. And Daria, I thought you had such a cool story about how you fell in love with the possibilities here. Can you share a little bit about that, about what drew you to work in this space and what keeps you excited about it?
Yeah, sure, would love to. And Brittany, yeah, you do so many cool things with Matterport, and I just wanted to say this. I love this. Well, yeah, I fell in love with AR and VR when I started my research. I was in game development industry before, and that is how I've started like getting to know these technologies. And then I was like a crazy person in a town talking to everyone about what we can do with AR on the menus, on the billboards, on the packaging, what we can do with VR. I just understood the value of these technologies in this everyday routine, you know, and then I've started to imagine and do these creative things with AR and VR technologies in different industries, how we can apply these technologies to everyday routine in different professions, and so on and so forth. So I'm still passionate about it because every day I see new use cases, I see the feedback, I see the communities growing, and a lot of new companies, product companies, service companies, they're growing, and it inspires me so much because that's a green flag, you know, that's a good sign that the industry is growing, that we bring the real value to the different companies, to the small startups, to the big corporations. you can only check how much VR training is changing on the side of the safety training, for example, at the different plants and factories, and how many lives it changes. That's really impressive. And then if you go and do your research in every single industry, even in banking industry, we can bring this value with AR and VR technologies. So that is what inspires me, and I see the real value. I see that the industry is growing. I see a lot of beautiful companies and startups arising on the market, and it's great. I love it. I cannot even imagine what should happen, and for me to lose my passion about it. You know, I'm still curious about it. We'll see.
That's amazing. You know, what you're pointing to is that it is so much possibility, and it's so powerful, and the real impact that you see that's possible, that's getting created, and the way it's changing people's lives. And you know, with that, there is a real responsibility as well. And I think we've all heard the saying that just because we can, it doesn't necessarily mean that we should. So let's get into that a little bit. What questions should creative technologists working in these fields stop and ask themselves? Laura, let me go to you.
This is really interesting because I did R&D in XR technologies in a previous life, and to share that passion, and also worked in artificial intelligence and entity analytics, and that's rife with ethical questions, right? Very powerful technologies can be used a lot of ways, and some of those ways can be concerning. At Mythical, I love the way that we approach this because we're a very values-driven company. And so through the lenses of being people first, trust, value, and pathfinding, we ask ourselves on a regular basis. And I think that's the important point, is having a practice and a discipline of ethical conversation as you're going through the invention cycle of, okay, great. Are people going to be benefited or harmed, and to what degree? Right? And not confusing yourself about that. And then, are we building or harming trust as we move? And are we delivering value for the business and for the customer while doing that? And are we finding paths and taking design approaches that are likely to produce good, right? Working toward the good. And so I appreciate that about Mythical's discipline. And I think that's something that all companies who are in these emerging tech spaces need to stop and develop practices around. So that's part of the reason why I went to Mythical, was having this values lens through which we work on a regular basis.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Daria, what do you think?
Okay, from our perspective, what I see a lot in everyday communication with our clients and industry, people are so excited about technologies that they forget to ask themselves the main question: why do we need to develop this? Why? Sometimes they want to develop something that doesn't make any sense. They won't bring any value, not to the business, not to the end customer, to anyone. So sometimes we have to stop ourselves and ask this question: why do I need this? What type of challenge should it solve? What value should it bring to the market, society, clients, etc.? And sometimes we see that there is no space for AR and VR or some emerging technology. You should better use, I don't know, ads on TV, and that will help you. But sometimes it really makes sense to go and do your research and develop and integrate. And it's just, you know, people are very excited, and imagination is working, and they're getting very amazed with this whole idea of having virtual or augmented reality application or something. And that is what I see from the inside, you know, from the communication with different clients and companies. So yeah, always ask yourself the question: why do you need that?
I love that you are pointing to having the integrity to ask those questions, and also to be honest about the answers, even if it means, no, this isn't the right solution. I think that, you know, it just makes it all the more valuable when you do find that correct fit, and it really does make sense to go out in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to pause quickly at this moment. We do want this to be a very collaborative conversation, and I would like to invite anyone who's listening, if you have questions for myself or any of the panelists, please feel free to start submitting them. We are going to save some time for questions at the end, and we would love to hear from you because we know this is a topic that resonates and people have a lot of thoughts. So please join the conversation, start sending in your questions, and we'll be really happy to touch on them towards the end. And now, returning to that, I think, about the dangers or the possible complications or the ethical questions that we're asking ourselves. Sometimes it may be that the very same technologies that lead us to reflect on those questions also hold the answers. So I would love to hear from you, Laura, what is the future you're working toward, and how might emerging technologies contribute to that future?
Oh, wow, I love this question. So from where I'm sitting with what I'm currently contributing to working on, it's really about putting the power in the players' hands, and the time that they invest, the love that they give, the way in which they spend their time, giving them the choice, additional freedom for how they use the value that they create in the games that they play. And that decentralized idea of I get to own my stuff, and the technologies that we're using that really focus on decentralization as design principles, to me is so exciting. To me, this is the next generation of the experience economy or the transformation economy. And it's so exciting to be surfing the leading edge of that and to be with a company so committed to that through a set of core values that I really believe in.
Thank you. Brittany or Daria, would either of you like to weigh in on this question? Laura kind of said it all, didn't she? Putting ownership and addressing that as a future that's more equitable.
Couldn't say it better than Laura.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a Women in Tech series, so let me ask, and I'm going to change the topic a little bit here, but from your perspectives as women working in the world of emerging technologies, what can you share? What have you noticed maybe that's different from working in other fields in the past? And to the same point, do these technologies contribute to a more equitable world, in your opinion? Daria, let me go to you.
Well, that's a good question, because before I was working with the IT industry, and it's not that very different. I mean, if to compare, but what I feel as a woman in tech and an entrepreneur, I feel more freedom just to express myself and express my approaches. How do I do the business? I do the development of my team and everything, and from the from the communication side, sometimes I made a lot of different ways how people communicate with women in technology, but when they it's not that, I don't know, I just feel for me, it's more about freedom to express myself. I can use these technologies, I can use my creativity, I can use my way of seeing of how we can approach or how we can integrate or how we can develop and everything. I can express all of that in this field, in this industry. And I think that's the main difference for myself. I cannot say there are some critical different points that I've seen if to compare with the previous industries I've worked with, but that's the main one.
Something that really stands out to me about this field is that there's no old boys club, because there's no anybody club. It is brand new, and it really belongs to everyone. Everyone who's willing to show up in the space and do the research and look at what the data is pointing to. It really, it's refreshing.
I had a few meetings with the old boys clubs when they were talking about some big things, and then they were looking at me like, oh girl, what are you doing here? What are you gonna say us, you know? And then when I started talking, then they were like, oh, okay, now we're talking, let's discuss, you know, like those things. And that is the freedom I'm talking about. Like I can express myself in this industry with this feeling of freedom. That's my perspective. It is very personal. I don't know if it is something that someone also experiencing, but yeah, that's the thing.
I think the freedom is so key, and it makes so much sense what you're saying. Brittany, would you be willing to share your experience?
I think that, you know, when I think of everything that, you know, is just talked about, I resonate with it a lot. And to summarize it at a macro level, I see it as having a seat at the table. So in previous industries that I've been in, it was very hierarchical, very pay your dues and your time. It doesn't matter the level of work you're doing, your potential. And also culture may not have been as focused on, right? Like maybe more traditional, massive companies or industries that are much more traditional as well. And I think that technology and emerging technology is really paving a way for putting, you know, culture is important. We are creating new solutions. You know, we cannot, like Laura previously mentioned, you know, we can't rely on something that is already successful and we're seeing the ROI from, right? We have to have a great culture and collaboration among teams and among our internal teams as well, in order to make sure that our product is successful, to deliver the best experience. And so I think that that is really prioritized, and it's very refreshing, and why I really enjoy working for Matterport or working for technology companies. And that is something that's really important to me and to my team. And you then see that, right? You see that in a better product. You see that in a better team. You see people are more passionate and care about what they're creating. And I think when I take that back to then having a seat at the table, when I talk about paying your dues and putting in time, that is important. It is important to gain experience. But what's really great about technology and emerging technology is results are prioritized. Seeing the impact that one makes, seeing the results, seeing potential in people, and giving them a seat at the table and allowing them to speak to their own ideas. In previous industries, it was share your strategy, share your deck, and then someone else will present it, and they will not credit you for your work. And so here, and I will never do that with my team, right? It is, this is your deck, this is your slide. You have a seat at that table, and how am I supporting you and enabling you? And all of the ships rise as the tide rises, right? So how are we enabling that? And so that's something that I see as a really big difference. And it's something that really inspires me as well.
Thank you, Brittany. Laura, did you have something to add? You were enthusiastically agreeing.
I'm like, all leaned in. I'm like, yeah. Oh, you know, this comes down to, you know, and again, you keep hearing me go back to values, right? So as women and people in female bodies who get the liabilities socially that come with what their physical form looks like, there's an experience that at least my generation of women coming up in tech have had. I'm hoping that the world that we're creating for those coming up behind us is even better, right? I've taken my lumps. I've had this experience. I've gone through crummy culture. I've been hurt by that culture. And I have spent my career very strategically working my way of knowing when is my exit point, right? Getting back to Brittany's comment about, yeah, go ahead, do the deck. Yeah, go ahead and do the work of the director. But the director who's the sitting director, who's not really a director, is going to present your work as their work. And that's just tough breaks. You got the skill set, but you don't get the attention, and you don't get the promotion. So it becomes a strategic set of movements to find your way into appropriate places where you're going to get the growth. One of the things that I really love about Mythical is that they're committed, and you hear this diversity and inclusion, but what you don't see is commitment, and you don't see commitment as action. And what I love about where I am, it's one of the reasons why I made the move that I did to come do this with them, is they are so like metrics driven, committed to having an environment with a diverse set of perspectives. So it's not about racial numbers, it's not about gender numbers, it's not about gender spectrum numbers, it's not about any of this stuff. It's about, does our company reflect the player base? Does our company reflect our values in terms of who we invite to the table and how we lift up and build our people? And because Mythical is committed to that, and I'm committed to that, my values are aligned with Mythical's values, I feel very comfortable being a steward of culture. And that's the difference when you're a leader. You're not just like, I'm here for me and my career path. At a certain point, you are here for everyone else. And that everyone that passes through in their career who touches you as a leader and the culture that you create in your groups and that you support in your company should have the opportunity to learn something, grow, and next level. And it doesn't matter if it's at your company or the next, you want to see your people grow and get to that next thing that's right for them. And so as you make decisions, as you're interviewing companies and you're building your career, that's what you look for. You interview for commitment and you interview for that alignment, and you listen to those red flags. So I went to a place where I knew I could build a strong career as a technology leader. I also happen to be female. Mythical is that place, and we're hiring. So for folks who are really looking for that type of environment, definitely interview for it, because this is how we build successful careers and change the culture of women in tech.
That is
Sorry,
such
that's my
a fantastic advice. Oh my goodness. No, I love that. And I think like that's something that as young professionals, we don't hear often, is interview for your values, right? And think about the career that you're building. But we're jumping into a question that we're going to touch on a little bit more deeply later on. So let me zoom back. I think we started to unpeel this, and I think each of you has started to share this already. But I'm gonna jump backwards, and I want to ask, big question, big answer, but a simple one. What inspires you? Brittany, let's go to you.
So when I think about what inspires me, I talked a lot about, Matterport, the products, all the use cases. But, when I think about inspiration, I think about when you have those days where you have to dig deep and it's a grind. What's getting you through? That's true inspiration. That's at your core. And when I think of that, I think of my team every single time. And I think of, 10 months ago, alliances didn't exist. And I was a team of 1 for a little while. Then I was a team of 2 and a team of 3. And now we're a global team of 8 across EMEA, APAC, and AMER. And I'm so incredibly grateful. And I also think of it as, with the team, and how I think of leadership is really serving and supporting my team. And I take a team-based approach to decision-making or change management or projects and things that we're rolling out for the global program. Let's make sure everyone has a seat at the table, everyone's voices are heard, everyone has a role, but then it's, how do we come to a decision that we all felt we were part of? And so I take that approach, and what's been really exciting to see is, when my team is problem solving, or if they are noticing a trend of something they want to build in each of their programs, they're going to each other autonomously, and they're working on that collaboratively. And so just to see that culture in the team, and to see how they are quick to problem solve when you're building a program from the ground up. The first year to 2 years is a lot of foundational building, a lot of strategy. And so it's just been really motivating to me as well to see the energy that the team is putting into the creativity and all of the strategies and initiatives that they're driving. And also, when I think of a team, I think of, how are you building a face? Everyone has a unique value. You have the ears, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, right? Like you have different skill sets or strengths and key values that each of them have, but they complement each other. They work well together and have synergy. So that is what really inspires me, is to see them each rise in their unique value that they're bringing as well.
Brittany, I want to just acknowledge you. I've had the privilege of witnessing you build this out and working with your team. And it is truly, it inspires me every day as well to get a chance to work with this this incredible team that you are creating. So thank you for being this inspirational leader. It's impacted me directly.
Well, thank you. That means the world. Thank you.
Yeah. Laura, what inspires you?
I'm going to feel like such a copycat coming off of Brittany. So I'll be really honest. It's pretty simple. When I see members of our team who are at the tactical executing level and working their way through, one of our folks got to sit on it was a webinar with our CEO and talk about new functionality that released, our ETH bridge, which is all about continuing that decentralization as a design principle. I was so excited for him. It was great public speaking, great exposure, and I just smiled the whole way through listening to it. And then today we had an all hands, and 2 of our product managers had an opportunity to present what they're working on and really speak for themselves and what they're tactically focused on and be seen by the entire company. And I'm sitting there glowing the whole time, like, look at them go, they're doing so good. Look at how much work they put into that. It's awesome. That's what I show up for. That's what inspires me. It's why I get up. It's why I stay focused on the things that I do. And I keep my values aligned to the company's values, not because I'm some corporate schlep, but because I love watching people grow, and I love watching companies succeed and products succeed, and engaging with really happy customers that really get progress as a result of engaging with the product or service or the combination therein. So that's what's really inspiring to me.
Very hard to beat. Yeah,
it is really
hard to beat for sure.
But it also comes with like days of suck and days of struggle. Like it's digesting broken glass sometimes, but when you get those moments, you're like, yep, worth it.
Yeah, that's what I do it for. Yeah, you're right. Daria, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I'm on everything you've mentioned, and I really love people. I adore people. They're beautiful, all of them. And all of us, we have talented people in our teams, and it's such a pleasure to see them growing and contributing to the whole idea and the business and the company, and it's great. And Laura, I know this feeling. I can relate to it so much. When you see your team members growing and succeeding in something, you're celebrating them so much, and I really love this. That is what inspires me, and also the industry, the place I'm in. I'm very happy to be in here, and that inspires me every day. Like, it gives me this resource, this energy to move forward.
That's great. Laura, you earlier gave such a fantastic piece of advice to professionals crafting their careers in terms of what to interview for. And I'd like to ask you now, all 3 of you, what advice would you give to young professionals who are coming up? Or maybe what do you wish you could tell your younger self? Daria, can you continue your thought and share that?
Well, I would say take care of yourself and do yearly checkups or something like that, because don't stress too much. Because when I was young, younger, and I just started my professional career and everything, I was very into all of that, and I forgot about myself. And then on the first session with my therapist, she said, okay, what do you like? And I said, work. And she said, okay, something except work. Like, what do you like? And I said, I don't know. And that was a terrible moment when I understood that I don't know what I like. That was terrible. So for all of the young people who are going into their professional way, starting, just don't forget to live. Don't forget yourself. Don't forget things you really like and you enjoy, because the life is much more bigger than just the work. It's great if you're passionate about your work. It's great if you enjoy it. It's great if you succeed in some of the work, but just don't get in that situation I was in, because I was sitting the whole week and writing this list of things I like, and I was really struggling with that because the first thing on the list was petting my cat. and that was unfortunately true. Like, I forget myself. I forget how to be myself. What do I like? What do I want to be? Where I want to be, and so on and so forth. It's fun. It's funny to talk about it right now, but it was very sad at that moment. So I guess that's the biggest advice from my end. Like, just stick to your values, to your principles, and take care of yourself, because no one will do it better than you.
Petting your cat is still the first thing on my list, and that's not a bad place to start.
Yeah, it's
Brittany,
an anti-stress,
It is. Brittany, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I love all of that. I think that all resonates very well. And I think that's something too, younger self, and also continuing to practice it as we continue, right? It's something we have to commit to. So there are 3 things that I would tell my younger self. And so I think when I saw an actual change in, my career and where I was going, or kind of finding my niche and my area, it was when I went inward and I really dove into knowing my strengths. So there is Strength Finder, and I can share the link after this, but that was a key area for me in my career, to understand my strengths. And you can become world star, all best in class at your strengths, and you can improve your weaknesses, but it's highly unlikely that, your weaknesses you probably also don't enjoy. So you're not going to become like a world star in your weakness. So how do you know? Also just knowing and speaking to your strengths. And when you unlock that, you can really dive into it more and more and lean into those. And they tend to also fuel you, but you learn a lot about yourself and like, why are these your strengths? One of my strengths is strategy. Why is that my strength? Why does it make me me? And what is the flip side of that strength? Like, sometimes your strength can also be something that you need to be mindful of for self-awareness as well. And so knowing that really helps you position yourself. It helps you learn about yourself, and then tap into your career more and more. So that would be a key one. I think that really changed my path and my trajectory, and accelerated it quite a bit. And then I would say a mentor of mine, he taught me this earlier on, which is what got you here won't get you there. And this is a book as well. And so when I look back at that, it is, what got me into working in one of my roles earlier on, and what I needed to learn in that moment was very specific. And then at the next company I was at, learning about that was a new lesson had to be learned. So everywhere you go, you're evolving. And just because in one place you may accomplish, a specific type of culture and maybe having more self-awareness or how you communicate. And then in another culture, they can say, well, actually, I want you to say no more. I want you to speak up more. And in this role, this is important here in this culture. And so it's being able to understand that, being adaptable and always learning and growing, and knowing that what got you in your previous role, or what gave you an opportunity to grow, is going to be different every time as you continue to evolve. And then the last is to slow down and enjoy the moment, and to celebrate. So celebrating your wins. So I think of this as you continue to grow in your career, we often think about, and I think it's like our culture as well, is, okay, I need to be at this next stage, or for me, it was, I really want to become a director. I really want to become a director. I want to run global business, right? And you have these goals in your mind, and then it's, once you achieve them, you're on to the next goal. And so you have to celebrate your wins. You have to appreciate them, because there's beauty in every stage. And when you get to a certain place, you're going to look back and you're actually going to miss some of the things that you had. It's completely different. So just knowing that it's really, you should be present and appreciating the struggle, having managers who, maybe it's not the right fit, and maybe they aren't supporting you very well. But those are the best teaching moments for me. Those were some of the best moments to learn, I will never do this. I will never treat my team this way. I will never take away an opportunity to present someone else's work on their behalf. I will help them so they are ready to present it on their behalf, right? Like, these are things that in that moment, you may be experiencing pain about it, and it's hard to see the silver lining, but really when you look backward, it's, well, that really taught me something and that helped me grow. So appreciating those moments, I think, is very important.
That's so beautiful. Laura, I want to hear from you, and we have a lot of wonderful questions from our audience. So give us the distilled version. What would be your nugget of advice for your younger self?
See, you know I like to talk. You're smart, telling me that. So here's my advice. First of all, I'm going to piggyback off of Brittany. Do not squander your experiences. When you have an opportunity to learn something and to go through something, take it, because what the size of your toolbox is relative to how much you paid attention and really got the marrow out of the moment. So Brittany's advice is excellent advice. The other piece, and this was something I got from an investor in a previous company that I worked for, and is when you want money, ask for advice. When you want advice, ask for money. People are more likely to open doors for you when they're invested in your outcomes. So when you ask for mentorship, or you have a conversation, or you think that you've got a North Star and you're going to go in that direction, people are going to shut a lot of doors in your face along the way. So don't lose heart, just stay focused, keep going. And then as you get into those conversations, build relationship, build trust, ask for advice a lot, because people who are invested in you will open doors for you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go to some of our questions. And if we go a little over, I think that's fine. If anyone who needs to drop off can do so. But we have a great question here from Juliet. So Juliet is asking, technology learns and is influenced by our opinions as the creators. How do you think that we should be ensuring that we aren't creating biased technology? How can we erase unconscious bias? And do you think that this is going to become a growing issue with the rise in technology? Anybody wants to tackle that meaty and excellent question? It's a big one. I think I can. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think I can speak to the first piece about this. I think that first is acknowledging and building with that in mind and intention in mind, and having those conversations internally. If you're not building that diversity and inclusion and having those conversations and teaching employees, how are they going to build a product that, I mean, that is an issue in culture today, in society today. And that's something we all need to continue to work to move past and to absolve. And so if we are not addressing it, and we are not building a plan around it, how are we going to build with intention to mitigate that? I think it starts at that foundational level.
Yeah. And I can say for myself, my values and my passion and why I get out of bed every day excited to come to work is that I think that people who are designing these technologies, Juliet, have immense power. So for me to be in a position of running a design agency where I get a say in making sure that those designers are people who care about what they're creating, who care about the ethical questions, and who are bringing a variety of voices that typically haven't had a platform, there is nothing I can imagine doing with my life that would be more rewarding than that. So look at who you're bringing in to create this technology. Look at who's designing even those micro interactions that you might not think it matters if it's a hamburger menu or some other kind, but these are the little things that shape our beliefs and that we shape, and they shape us right back in return. So that would be my takeaway. We have another really good question here from Marcel, which is about some specific emerging technologies. Virtual reality, NFTs, AI, which one is going to be the most impactful one, and how might they relate to one another in the future? Anybody want to speculate?
Daria, I am looking forward to what you have to say. So, okay. So first of all, do you know how your debit card works, and does that matter? Because NFTs are just, it's a technology, it's a vehicle for accomplishing a particular thing. So which is going to be more important? It's going to be important. Just like for a long time we had a cash only economy, eventually we're going to have blockchain based economies in a lot of different places. We're going to have decentralized economy. That's just a fact. But that's just a transactional layer of economics. So is it going to be more important than AR, VR, or the XR immersive technologies? No, I think they're going to be married to each other, because the locations where we transact and where we interact, where we build identity, community, and experience the progress that we're looking for, that happens in environments, that happens in contexts. All blockchain technologies and blockchain-based economy and NFTs as a form of technology for proving ownership, true ownership of digital goods, that just lives in an environment. So I don't think it's a one or the other. I think it's both. And I think that tide rises at the same time.
Great point, Laura. Daria, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And for sure, we will see a lot of stages of development of this new, like they like to name it metaverse, but still, and we will have a lot of regulations inside of this process. And we will see that a lot of new technologies will come up, and all the existing technologies and the VR, NFT, artificial intelligence, Industry 4.0 and everything will be all together in one place, just regulating itself and complementing each other. Because for example, the blockchain is decentralized economy, and the VR can be the visual part of it, and each part will be complemented with a specific technology. I believe so. It will be like a big box full of different technologies.
Great.
And due to the previous question, yes, sorry, I have just this small note here. Is just, it will happen. It will happen. Like, bad people will do bad things. Like, bad things will be bad things. Good things will be good things. It's just the reality. It's the world we live in, and it's not an illusion. Like, we will use these technologies only for good, because there is still like gambling, casinos, and everything, you know, and I know companies that are building virtual reality casinos, for example, and it's not that ethical, right? But it's still happening, and it's gonna happen in future more and more and more, and sometimes I think it will be on the edge of very bad things, you know. But still, that is just the world we live in, and we should be ready for it. And I'm sure that this new regulations in this metaverse world, it should somehow manage the number of these things, and how we gonna manage that. Yeah, so I'm having a lot of different communications with the different people who are interested to invest into AR or VR developments with different approaches, with different, very different goals. So yeah, there is super different. So yeah, sorry for that. But
no, thank you for sharing. That's so valuable. We are over time, so for any of the three of you, if you need to drop off, if you have other commitments, please feel free. We have a couple of other questions, so for anyone who can stay, I'd love to just address these. Some really wonderful questions coming up. But if you need to drop off, I'll just say thank you so much for participating, and this has been a lovely conversation. All right. So we have a question here from Seth. He says, all of you are impressive and successful executives within the technology industry. And he wants to know, who were your primary role models that helped shape your career decisions and current work approaches or priorities? Anybody wants to take this one?
I think so. Inspiring me in my career, or I guess to lead, be a leader, be a team player. I think that actually started with me from several of my soccer coaches. So I played soccer really competitively growing up, and I would be a team captain on some teams, other teams, there were other team captains. So it just taught me really early on. And also, you know, there's that lesson you learn young in sports, that there's always someone faster than you. Right. And so being okay with that, and knowing when it's your turn to lead and when it's others, and how to, you know, my childhood was all traveling and playing competitive soccer with my teammates. So like having sisters and being on a team all the time, and knowing different what your role is and value you bring to each team that you're on. So I think that really inspired and taught me, and the really good coaches that I had that really cared about me, but also had the discipline and the vision and were great at decision making. I think they inspired me as who I am as a person today, like my identity at my core. And then in my career, there have been several mentors and incredible managers that I've had that have really believed in me and have let me shine and given me those stretch projects that helped me dig into my skill set and gave me those growth opportunities. And I really have each of them to thank for the place that I'm at today and where I've been able to grow.
Thank you, Brittany. Daria or Laura, anyone you'd like to mention?
Am I allowed to name drop?
I think so. It's your webinar.
Well, so apologies in advance to those who I did not have time to reach out to get their permission to say their name on a recorded event. Sorry. So I had the opportunity to work very early on for a man named Mike Conti, who is an early Microsoft executive on the Excel team. He was my college boss at his little indoor racing place called Champs Karting before I knew what I wanted to do. And he recognized in me that he had this punky young woman who just wanted to take responsibility for everything and lead all the things and do the stuff. And I was just there to do marketing stuff and kind of booth babe. It was that time. And what he did is he started training me to interact with executives. Don't walk into my office unless you can answer the 3 questions. What's the problem? How are you going to approach solving it? What other options have you considered? Don't start a conversation with me until you're ready to do those things. Okay, but that's been hugely important. It changed everything for me. I have another active mentor, Sharon Bolding, who has worked in artificial intelligence and the natural language processing, NLP space for a really long time. She's taught me an immense amount about what it means to work for startup and build from 0 to 1 to 5. Meaning from no product to a V1 to the technology that you're going to build your company on in the longer period of time. And she taught me a lot about lead from the pain. People need to go through periods of pain in order to ask the right questions. And so instead of trying to constantly mitigate pain, yes, where it's really critical, mitigate pain, but otherwise allow people to walk into their lessons. And there are a number of others that I'm not doing for the sake of time since we're over. The point I'd like to drive is, again, ask for advice, build relationships, build trust. Those folks open doors for you, and mentorship is hugely important. Seek it inside your company, seek it outside your company, because these are the folks that are going to point you at looking at things a different way, and then you're like, oh, there's a whole opportunity, new skill toolbox.
Beautiful. Daria, I'm gonna let you answer the last question here instead of answering this one, but it's related. So I'm sure you can tie it together if you had something you really wanted to say. So this question is from Fernanda, and she asks, how was the beginning of your journey as a woman in the tech world? And she would love to know how you got started.
Well, as I mentioned, I've started with a big passion, but before that, I've started in the technology company that was doing the video production or something around that, and that was quite a difference, because before that I was working in the totally different industry, and I didn't understand where I'm going to work from the very beginning. You know, that I was very excited. That was totally different. That was a technology company, and I wanted to work in technology company. And then I did a lot of my homework. I did a lot of research, and I learned and I studied, and I really did a lot of homework. And that was the period to work hard and to learn a lot, because you have to understand the language, you have to understand the technology, you have to understand the necessity of different things. And yeah, that was quite interesting, and I really appreciate the team and people who were around me. They really helped me, and that was quite great. And then with my business right now, it also started with the research and my homework, but it all started initially from the big passion and love and feeling of, oh, like, wow, that's the technologies I want to work with. I know I can do anything in my life, but this is what I really enjoy.
Wow. What a powerful sentiment. You can do anything and you choose to do this. I love that.
Yeah.
That is so inspiring. All right. Wrapping us up, 3 words or less. Daria, what should anyone working in emerging technologies take time to think of and reflect on?
Oh, God.
That was 2. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I really like what Confucius said. There is a saying of his, when I hear, I forget. When I see, I remember. When I do, I understand. And for me, emerging technologies are about all these things together, because they really bring to humanity this new way of doing things. And doing means understanding, means being more engaged, means being more proactive and creative and expressing themselves. So from my side, this saying is full of meaning for emerging technologies for now. I don't know, maybe it's gonna change.
Great. Brittany, 3 words or less.
Time, value, scale.
Time, value, scale. Beautiful. Laura.
Past doesn't have to be the future.
Ooh, deep. Ladies, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely phenomenal conversation. I'm so appreciative of each of you. And for our listeners and attendees, whether you are here with us on the Zoom or joining us via Facebook Live or YouTube Live or any of the other emerging technologies live, thank you for joining us. If you missed the session or if you loved it and you want to share with your friends, you can find it on YouTube. And make sure to tune in for the next episode of Extraordinary Women in Tech. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.